5 engines, you ought to be able to pull down a giant sequoia. We've only got 2 mud boggers left. This is Stephen Shin, the Shindig Express. Jackie Hunter still on top at 2.09 seconds. Randy Moore at 2:15. He'll make a little money. Richard Whitfield at 2:31. That's the top 3. Now, the Shindig Express, another bizarre-looking creation.
And the bog itself, that gets even more bizarre. With each run, it's now really more like an obstacle course than a mud bog as Stephen Shin lines up there. The water that used to be on the surface is now all splashed out. It's just a giant rutted mess.
I love the wing on top of the roll bar. That has got to be there strictly for decorative purposes, because there's certainly no aerodynamics involved in 2.9 seconds unless you've got a rocket sled.
Well, here he goes. Remember now, everybody says, can we get under 2 seconds? Well, let's watch the Shindig Express. Good pass, Steve.
You bet. Considering the condition of that course, that was sensational. Stephen Shin at 2.50 seconds. Uh-oh. Battle stations. Here comes the Bigfoot Shuttle. No one's having more fun than Bob Chandler is. This is the last half of the semifinals. If Chandler can win here, he'll face his own Bigfoot truck in the final round. Let's go to Brock with Stephen Shin.
Well, Steve, 2.5 seconds, not bad, but not quite enough.
Just lacked a little bit there. Just wouldn't get in there and go.
What was the problem specifically? It looked like a pretty good pass to us.
The main thing got running about 11:30 today and just didn't get all the bugs out of it.
Had Steve been in the front of the line, he might have won this whole thing, because look, as rough and lumpy as this old pit has become, the suspension, the chassis is working pretty well and keeping all 4 wheels in the mud driving forward. That accounts for a mighty good time of 2.5 seconds. Uh-oh, problems. There's, no problem, as a matter of fact. There's the old Bronco, half boat, half car. You know, Brock, earlier I said, talking about the boat registration numbers, CF numbers. Well, I'm a California boater. In California, they're CF. In Florida, they're FL. Sorry about that.
Either way, no water in sight for John Moore right now. He faces a bigger challenge, really. That is the Bigfoot Shuttle with Bob Chandler on board, and that little rat just floats over those wrecks, and he is way out front. In the meantime, John Moore just chugging along. That weight seems to be a big handicap here, Steve.
But remember, no problem is a real short wheelbase track. The only thing shorter is the Bigfoot Shuttle, and Chandler used that to his advantage, and the power is such that he can just keep the pedal down.
Well, on to victory for Bob Chandler as we watch John Moore head for the pits for the last time. Let's go to Steve with Jim Kramer.
Well, what we have here is an all Bigfoot final. Bigfoot itself with this man aboard, Jim, and the tender to Bigfoot. That's really a surprise.
The Bigfoot Shuttle is a surprise. It's got about 160 horsepower, and the least amount of horsepower anybody's got here is about 500. So we're really proud of it. It's a very smooth running little truck.
And it looked like Bob was doing a little dirt tracking out there, sliding it around the course.
Yeah, he sure did, and he's tough to beat. He's going to be tough to beat, you know.
With all your horsepower?
All my horsepower. One thing about horsepower, you got to be able to utilize it. And this is a short, choppy course, and you're on and off the gas, where he can literally stay on his gas and use every bit of horsepower. I have to let off of mine. I can't use 750, but he sure as heck can use 160.
Should be fun.
Sure will.
Well, we're going to see the Bigfoots face off, but before that, we got more tractors and more mud racers coming up. Stick around at the... What can I tell you, folks? It's the tractor puller's answer to the San Diego Chicken, the TNT Gorilla called Go-Go. And he's getting ready like everybody else for one more round of the 9,200 class tractor pullers here in the Redman TNT Supernationals. I'm Brock Yates along with Steve Evans, and Gardner Stone with a tractor called Loud, Tough, and Lethal is getting ready to fire up. Now remember, he tried a pass with his other tractor, the General, and only went 143 feet. So he's got to do better than that to get on the leaderboard. But before that, let's talk monster trucks.
Well, we don't have to ask this man, Bob Chandler, if he's enjoying his evening, an all Bigfoot final.
I'm having a ball.
Well, so is Jim Kramer, and he says that even though you've only got about 150, 60 horsepower, that you're going to be hard to beat. Is that true?
Tell you what, this is a pretty easy course for this truck. The cars are so flat, I just go wide open over them, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Jim said that he really can't use all his power on this car.
No, it's too long of a track for him.
You know, they just polled the crowd as to who they thought were going to win, and you got a pretty good representation.
I'll give him a run.
Okay, have fun.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, that's going to be a whole lot of fun as we watch Chandler climb into the Bigfoot shuttle. In the meantime, this is Gardner Stone hooking up with a tractor, as we said, called Loud, Tough, and Lethal. And earlier, 143 feet, only 143 feet with the General. So he's got to do better than that, Steve.
Well, let's bear in mind the General had 3 engines, and this particular tractor only has 2. So he's really going with less horsepower than he had in his previous run. But maybe he learned something as a driver in that earlier effort. Look at him just kind of pussyfoot off of the mark, not trying to spin the tires and dig a big hole. But the front end is way too high. Way too high. In fact, he went just about the same distance as he did before.
Well, no luck tonight at all for Gardner Stone. One of the top pullers in the business, but boy, he is just having a terrible time here tonight. 140.32 feet, about a foot short of his last effort. So that's you could write that off as a disaster for Gardner.